Let's begin by a round of 9 breathings. Begin with the right channel, exhaling. Inhale through the right nostril. Exhale. Change hands. Exhale. Inhale through left nostril and exhale through the right. Releasing all the stale breath. Now with both hands, blue light. Shake your body, contract muscles. Exhale. And rest right where you are. Just drop. Now let's set our motivation for this practice, for today, making it as meaningful as possible, including ourselves and others. Now, just rest in the present, releasing any attachment to the past, to the future. Just rest peacefully, allowing your breath to take its natural rhythm. Allowing your mind to come rest in the present moment. Now become aware of your body, but instead of focusing on the tactile sensations, we're going to focus on feelings. There might be arising in relation to a tactile sensation. For example, you might have some pain in your body that you perceive as being disagreeable, unlikable. But instead of rejecting it, just observe that feeling. You might have other sensations in your body that you interpret as being pleasurable or agreeable, likable. Notice that feeling. You might have yet other feelings that are neutral. Arising independence of your body, your experience of your body. So you can do a scan of the body from head to toes and slowly noticing if there are any pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feelings arising to your experience. Just noticing them without grasping, without elaborating thoughts about them, without rejection, without attachment. Now observe your body, wherever your attention pulls you to. Let it move randomly from one part of your body to another, noticing those feelings. Only these three: like, dislike, or neutral. Agreeable, disagreeable, or neutral. But instead of reacting, just notice that the pleasant experiences give rise to liking, the unpleasant feelings to disliking, and the neutral feelings to indifference. Notice how pleasant feeling nourishes greed and attachment. How painful feelings provokes aversion, rejection, and neutral feelings sustain delusion, manifesting as apathy and complacency. Now include other perceptions such as sounds, thoughts, mental events, emotions, and notice how there are feelings associated with this. You might like some sounds and not others. You might experience some thoughts as pleasant and others as unpleasant or neutral. You might experience some emotions as pleasant, others as unpleasant or neutral. So just observe and focus on the feelings. Now bring to mind something, a memory of something you consider pleasant or pleasurable. And focus on the feeling, not on the memory. Now bring to mind a memory of something unpleasant or disagreeable. And focus on the feeling, not on the memory. Now bring a memory of something neutral. that produces some neutral feelings. And focus on the feeling. And now let's investigate these feelings. Where are they? How do they exist? How do they manifest? Are these feelings permanent or impermanent? Watch closely, investigate them. Are they sources of satisfaction or dissatisfaction? Are they true sources of happiness? Are the objects of these feelings intrinsically sources of pain or pleasure? And now ask yourself, are these feelings mine? Are these feelings me? Are these feelings I? And investigate. Do these feelings have an owner or not? As we do this practice more and more, the focus of attention shifts from the tone of the feelings to the process of feeling itself, which is revealed to be a ceaseless flux of feelings arising and dissolving, one after another without a pause. This marks the beginning of insight into impermanence, which, as it evolves, overturns greed for pleasant feelings, aversion for painful feelings, and delusion for neutral feelings. Now rest in that understanding. Let's finish dedicating the merit of this practice so that we can continue gaining insight into the existence, empty existence of feelings. Gain that understanding in order to be free from attachment, aversion, and confusion. To stop cultivating the causes of suffering and start cultivating the causes of genuine happiness for our benefit and for the benefit of all those beings that surround us. And stretch a little bit. Come back. So, this is the second of the 4 applications of mindfulness. As we said before, these 4 applications of mindfulness that the Buddha taught in the Satipatthana Sutra are a vipashyana practice. We're starting to gain insight into reality, into how we exist, how our body, our sensations in the body. Remember, we did the first application, scanning the body, but not only observing, but questioning. How do these sensations exist? Are they mine? Are they I? Are they permanent? Are they impermanent? Are they true causes of happiness or true causes of pain? And now we're focusing on these 3 labels, these feelings. We're not referring to an emotion. Sometimes we talk about my feelings, right, as my emotions. But here we're referring to these 3 labels of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And we constantly label one of these three to everything. We impute this label on our physical sensations, our thoughts, sounds, smells, all perceptions, right? We put these labels to people, we put these labels to every experience we have. And due to this continuous arising of feelings and being carried away by them impulsively, compulsively, what do? If it's pleasant, we get attached, we get greed, we crave it, we desire it. We want to hold on to that pleasant feeling. If it's unpleasant, we reject it, we push it away, we don't want it, we get angry with it. And if it's neutral, we're indifferent. We don't care. We ignore it. Right? So because of this arise all the problems in the world, all wars, all fights, all sufferings. Yet we are constantly deceived, right? But when we start doing this practice, we're taking some distance. We're observing the feelings without reacting. We are investigating them instead of letting them dictate our actions and our preferences and our existence. So as we do this practice, it will become more evident how they're not intrinsically coming from the object, but they have to do a lot with our personal story, our conditioning, the culture we were born in, our education. So many things are determining that we perceive something as pleasant or as unpleasant, right? And that's why we just live in automatic. We don't question these things. So to give you an example, you might have a pain in your toes, in your foot, right? And you experience it as unpleasant because it's like a strong pain. But then you go to Thailand and you see all these shops that have foot massage, offering foot massage. Outside of the shops there's these nice beds or chairs, and you sit and they're giving you a fantastic foot massage and you pay for it. And then they start producing this pain, terrible pain in your feet, in your toes. They're squeezing them really hard, but you experience it as so pleasant. You're so happy. It might be the same pain, but now the interpretation is different, right? Or one of my teachers, Mingyur Rinpoche, has a very good example. He says, you come out of your house and you're walking and it's so hot, you're sweating, you feel sticky, you say, it's so hot, I can't bear this hot weather. You're suffering so much, I'm perceiving that heat as unpleasant. And then you arrive to the gym, you pay some money, you go into the sauna, and then you're in this room that is extremely hot, but you're so happy, you're there in your sauna, right? Or the steam room, and you are enjoying this heat because now you're perceiving the experience as being something pleasant, and you're even paying to get that heat that a few minutes before you couldn't bear, right? You had rejection towards it. And that happens all the time with our perceptions, right? We think it comes from the object, that pleasantness or that disagreeable. But it's not always like that. There might be a pleasant feeling. For example, some people like to be touched very lightly, and they experience that sensation as pleasant. But some people can't tolerate it. They feel it as unpleasant. Or the same person can experience it first as pleasant, but after a while of touching your skin in the same spot, you start experiencing it as unpleasant, right? The same with food. You might eat the ice cream and experience it as pleasant, but then you keep eating more ice cream, and then the experience transforms into unpleasant or neutral, right? So the more we observe these feelings and investigate them, the more free we will become from them. But there has to be that insight, that investigation. Otherwise, it's no different from a choiceless awareness practice where you're just observing, but there's nothing transformative there because there is no questioning and gaining that understanding. And this can happen also with Dharma practice, right? We might like some practices and dislike others. And this can happen to all of us. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but you might think, Shamatha practice, I like it because I just watch my breath and I feel so blissful, so peaceful. But I don't want to do those meditations on impermanence and death. I don't like them, right? Or you might like the loving kindness and the compassion, but I don't like the shamatha. Why do I have to watch my breath? I just want to do loving kindness. But the thing is that we are being tricked again by these feelings, by these labels, right? So the whole collection of meditations are helping us balance those extremes. So even if there are some meditations that we don't want to do, if we do them, we will overcome the grasping to just doing the ones we like, or the indifference to others, right? So we do this all the time. We're moved by that like-dislike. We are here in this place, you arrive, you say, how beautiful, there's nature, there's silence, it's so wonderful, I feel so happy here. Finally, I found the place I was looking for. I am very happy doing this retreat. And 1 month later, you experience it as disagreeable. I can't tolerate the sounds, the food, the cold weather. Maybe if I go somewhere else, there must be another place that it will be intrinsically pleasant and will be like that forever, permanent, not changing. And we're always looking for that pleasant experience. We change house, we change partner, we change our appearance, we change things in that search for more pleasure, but it just escapes. We can never hold on to those pleasant experiences, right? The same when they come when they appear as unpleasant, we somehow think they are going to last forever, and we get very upset because they seem to be there for a long time and they don't go away. But then we don't remember they're impermanent too, and they won't last too long, right? So observing these feelings and investigating them is the second of the 4 applications of mindfulness. So now we're into the inside. We already checked all the shamatha levels, and we saw all these practices of shamatha that we can do to train and focus our mind and cultivate calm abiding. Now we are doing the set of practices for vipassana, for investigating reality. So we have to conjoin that shamatha with that vipassana. We have to have our axe hitting in the same place and the sharp edge of vipassana to investigate and really cut delusion, right? So as we sustain with our shamatha this investigation, not only in our meditation sessions, but all day, all the time, when we are out walking. Oh, look, there's a pleasant feeling. There's an unpleasant feeling. Oh, this walking feels neutral. My breathing, I experience it as neutral. Like you're watching all the time these feelings arising. Oh, you see a bird. Oh, how pleasant. You hear the dog. Oh, how unpleasant. Like they're constantly arising. So you're constantly observing and investigating with that focused mind, right? Now we can apply this also during dreams in our dream yoga practice, because dream yoga is also part of the vipashyana practices. The dream state help us see the vacuity of reality, because dreams are more changing, more in a state of flux. They don't have so much rigidity as the waking state, so it's easier to see how things are changing and not intrinsically as they appear. So now we can start applying these applications of mindfulness also in the dream state. So in order to do that, we need to first learn to be lucid in the dreams, right? And this is not so difficult. Many of us might have lucid dreams naturally since we were children, or maybe not. Maybe you've never had a lucid dream, but it's not difficult to develop the ability. Has anybody here has had lucid dreams? Can you raise your hand? At least one? No? Yeah? No?
What exactly is the word lucid?
Okay, lucid means that you know that you're dreaming. In the context of the dream, you know, this is very strange. I might be dreaming. And then you suddenly come to that realization that I am dreaming. This is a dream, right? Okay, so the first thing we need in order to become lucid in the dream is to have the intention, the motivation. So there is a practice of just several times a day asking yourself, is this a dream? And then also saying, tonight, when I go sleep, I want to have lucid dreams. So this is kind of putting an instruction repeatedly in your mind. When you go to bed and you say, tomorrow I really have to wake up at 6 a.m., like I have an appointment or something, but you don't have an alarm. So you tell your mind, I have to be awake at 6. And somehow you wake up at 6, even without the alarm, because you program your mind to do that. So in that way, we keep telling our mind, I want to be lucid. Next time I'm sleeping, I want to be lucid. So that's one thing, giving yourself the instruction several times. And then asking, is this a dream? So if you ask right now, am I dreaming? You say, probably not. But that can happen in a dream. In a dream, you can ask yourself, am I dreaming? And you're going to look around, everything is going to look so real that you're going to say, probably not. So just your intuition is not enough. You need to do what is called a check state. So there's several ways of doing this. One, and this comes from the book of Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming of Stephen LaBerge, a scientist that developed several methods to practice what in the modern world is called lucid dreaming, which is not the same as dream yoga, because dream yoga is an old tradition that comes from Tibetan Buddhism, in which you're using the platform of dreaming to practice the path, to find some insight. And in the modern tradition of lucid dreaming, you are using lucid dreaming as a way to gain more self-esteem or to have fun, right? Not really there's a purpose for a spiritual path or inner transformation. It's just, well, if we can have lucid dreams, let's have them and dream that we travel wherever we want and we have all these enjoyable experiences, but there's a lot of attachment and grasping there, right? So, but Stephen practices both lucid dreaming, and then he started incursioning into dream yoga. He is a scientist. He was studying, doing his dissertation at, I think it was Stanford University, and he he wanted to do his thesis about this topic of lucid dreaming because he had lucid dreams since he was a little child. So he said, how can I prove the community that lucid dreaming is possible, it's a reality? Many people have lucid dreams. How can I prove it? So he had a lab and he was experiencing with many subjects there and doing different kinds of tests. And suddenly he saw one of his subjects of study that this person was moving the eyes to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. But you know, when you are dreaming, you have the involuntary eye movement. They just move randomly, fast and without control, for saying it in a way. But this was very strange because the eyes would move and stay a little bit on the left and then move and stay a little bit on the right. So in that moment, he wakes up this person and says, what were you dreaming? You were lucid, right? Yes, I was lucid. What were you dreaming? And he says, I was watching a ping pong match. So I was watching the ball going left and right. So Stephen realizes that if you're lucid, you can control the direction of your eyes. So you can send a message from the dream world to the waking state, to the waking world. So that was the key for him to prove that lucid dreaming is possible. And he would put his team of scientists to prove this and say, well, I'm going to go into sleep, I'm going to be lucid, and I'm going to send you a message from the dream world. I'm going to look 3 times to the right and 1 time to the left, and then you will know the moment I'm lucid. And then they could investigate with doing different tests on his brain and different things, right? So he founded the Lucidity Institute and started doing a lot of courses and teaching people. So he wrote a couple or several books about this topic, and one of them is called Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming. It's a really good book that gives you a lot of methods and techniques to start having lucid dreams and controlling the dream state. I read this book in a context of a month-long retreat that I was doing, just focus on dream yoga. And it really, if you put into practice all the methods of the book, you are going to have lucid dreams, right? So you're focusing your mind all day, several times a day. You're questioning, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? So you look around and say, is there anything strange or unusual happening? And sometimes there are some strange things happening, right, in waking state. Like you might see, I don't know, a dog on top of a cow or something super weird. Sometimes you see these things that are strange. And so you ask, am I dreaming? But sometimes you can't find anything unusual. So you just ask, am I dreaming? And you look around with an investigative mind. And then you do a check state. So what he suggests is that you read something, anything. You can also use this kind of digital, how do you call this?
Clock.
Clocks, the numbers.
Display.
That you see you have analog, you have the numbers, because these ones change a lot in the dream. So you can use a clock like this, or you can use a piece of text, and then you read it once, or you watch the clock. Then you turn around, and then you look again, and there's a 50% chance in the dream that when you read it, it's going to say something completely different. And that's your cue that you're dreaming, right? And if you do it another time, a second time, you turn around and you read it again, there's a 90% probability that you will read something completely different, or the letters will change so much, right? So you do this check state during the waking state. So now let's do a check state. It's 9:47. I turn around. I look again. Okay, it's 9:47. Hasn't changed. So probably I'm not dreaming. I'm gonna do it one more time. Okay, I'm not dreaming. But I did the check state. And by doing it again and again during the day, eventually I'm gonna be dreaming, and I'm gonna dream of my clock, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna do the check state, and the numbers will be completely different or transform into some crazy appearance, because that happens in dreams. Then oh, now I'm dreaming. But why did that happen? Because you trained your mind during the day. You became habituated to do that check state. There's another check state where you just watch your hands. This actually comes from Carlos Castaneda in the tradition of Don Juan. My Mexican teacher was trained by him for many years, so he taught us this technique of just watching your hands. Somehow that might detonate the knowing of that you're dreaming. And then there's another one where you say, okay, am I dreaming? I'm going to do a check state. I'm going to try flying. So you jump. So try jumping on your place sometimes. Maybe you're walking and do a little jump. Yeah, maybe others will think you're crazy. It doesn't matter, right? You just do your check state. You jump trying to fly. And eventually, you're going to be dreaming, and you're going to do that check state. But instead of falling, you're going to be floating in the air. And well, that will make it very evident that it's a dream. And so there's several of these check states, but the thing is to be training during the day. You can put post-its around your room or your house asking, am I dreaming? To remember to do the check state. There's another way of training also. For example, saying every time I cross a door frame, you can, I'm going to ask this question. Or every time I open a door, I'm going to ask if I'm dreaming. There's another one that is the light switch. When you turn on the light switch in a dream, it usually never works. So you're pushing it and it doesn't turn off, or you're trying to turn off the light, turn it on and it doesn't turn on. So you can do that. Every time you touch a light switch, ask yourself if it's a dream. Because that's one of the things that never work in the dream somehow. There's a very good movie called Waking Life. It's, I think, Richard Linklater, something like that. And the whole movie is a lucid dream. So you will see these things, the light switch, you will see the clock, you will see many of these things in that movie. It's a very good movie. So that's the first thing, training in the waking state. As soon as you wake up, starts the practice of dream yoga. So you wake up and you don't move, because the moment you move, the memories of the dream will vanish, will dissolve. So try not to move before doing an account of your dreams. So in that state of not moving, try to remember as much as you can of your dreams. Because many times we do have lucid dreams, but we don't remember them. So try to remember just something. You don't have to remember the whole dream, but a little bit. And then have a notebook next to your bed, on your bed table. And as soon as you wake up and do that exercise of remembering, write down whatever you remember. Sometimes you don't remember much. Maybe you remember a color or a sensation, one of these feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, or you remember a face. Just write down some clues, right? But if you happen to remember a lot of one dream or many dreams that you had during the night, write the most important things, but try to identify. This will happen as you have more dreams to look at that you have registered. Try to identify what is called dream signs. So dream signs are repeating elements in your dream. Each one of us has a different set of dream signs. So for example, you might have many dreams of being in the same house, or many dreams where there's a person that appears a lot in your dreams, or maybe you dream a lot with stairs or elevators, or I don't know, it can be a tree or anything, an object. But as you have all these dreams, start highlighting on your journal, in your dream journal, these signs. And then that's another training. During the day, you say, next time I meet this person, or next time I go into the elevator or the stairs, or next time I'm in this house, I'm gonna ask if I'm dreaming, because I know that's one of my dream signs, right? So if, I don't know, seeing your grandma is a dream sign, she always appears in your dream. Well, next time I visit my grandma, I'm going to ask if I'm dreaming and do a check state. And then, after writing down your dreams, you set the intention. Today, during the day, I'm going to experience my waking reality as if it was a dream and it's as if I was dreaming. This comes from the advice of Padmasambhava in Natural Liberation, his advice on dream yoga. There's a chapter there. And he says, set the intention to be like a dream person in a dream, in the middle of the dream. And then tonight, when I go to sleep, I will have lucid dreams. I will be lucid in my dreams, okay? Or do it as an aspiration. May I be lucid in my dreams. Now, during the day, you do the check states, you do the mnemonic technique of remembering to program your mind. And then in the night, you can do a short meditation before sleeping. You can do mindfulness of breathing, but I think the practice of settling the mind is more conducive for dream yoga, because you're observing the space of the mind, right? And then you're seeing your thoughts arising and passing, mental events. And when you start falling asleep, you try to keep that continuity of awareness. And then you generate this conscious thought. As soon as I fall asleep and I start dreaming, I will recognize my dreams as dreams. And so you fall asleep, you start falling asleep, and you will see that there are something called hypnagogic images arising. So they're like very short dreams, like images, but they are so, well, at the beginning they might be just like mental events, like thoughts or like a memory. Like it might appear a flash of a face or something and dissolve in the space of your mind. You're watching the space of the mind. But suddenly, as you get more sleepy, you might perceive, for example, being in this room, like a whole immersive appearance. And then it will dissolve and you will have the experience of being again in your bed. So it was like a micro mini dream right there. It manifested a whole virtual reality, but then it dissolved very fast. And then when you enter into the dream, because you're doing this very consciously, you might pass a stage of dreamless sleep where there's no appearances, and then a dream manifests, but you are lucid in the whole trip to the dream world, right? Or you might lose clarity, you might lose consciousness for a moment, and then you are in the dream. But very soon you start questioning if this is a dream, because you fell asleep meditating, right? Now, Another thing you can do before sleeping or falling asleep is, and this comes from Stephen LaVerge in this book, he recommends visualizing what you want to dream about. Because sometimes we become lucid in the dream and we get so excited we don't know what to do, and that excitement makes us wake up and or lose the lucidity. So if you have a plan, it's easier to sustain the lucidity. So you plan. As soon as I become lucid in my dream, I'm going to fly and I'm going to go anywhere, right? You can say, I'm going to go to the Mount Everest and explore it. Something, wherever you want. But you have a plan. So when you're falling asleep, you visualize yourself, you imagine yourself becoming lucid in the dream and flying to Mount Everest. So you're falling asleep with that mental image. And then when you fall asleep and enter the dream and you become lucid, you will do that because you also program it before falling asleep, So you can put those intentions. You can visit people from the past that are not living. Of course, they're not the real person. They're your appearance of them. But you might visit Einstein or Gandhi or Jesus and speak in their language, right? And have a conversation with them. You can do a lot of interesting things in your dreams. So don't give limits to your imagination. So as you fall asleep, you set those intentions of being lucid. So the first part of the practice is just to learn to become lucid and sustaining it. Now, we always have these three labels, these feelings, right? Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And we usually prefer pleasant dreams than unpleasant. But the thing is, when you have an unpleasant dream, a nightmare, it's easier to become lucid because it's so shocking or real, and because you don't want it, it's easier to trigger that lucidity. So every time you have a problem or a situation that is disagreeable, that you perceive like that, like a situation of suffering, use it to ask yourself, am I dreaming? And then if you are in the middle of a nightmare and you realize it's a nightmare and you're lucid, the nightmare might continue being there because there's different degrees of lucidity. You might know it's a dream, but still experience like things still happening to you. Then you might be more lucid and able to transform the dream and control it or change it or go somewhere else. But not always we have control on that nightmare. I mean, the monsters might still be chasing you. And you might still be experiencing some fear or unpleasant sensations. But instead of running away from it, facing it can help that practice and lucidity to become more intense. And also not trying to wake up desperately. Like, it's a dream, it's a nightmare, I have to get out of here. So you make an effort to wake up. Sometimes when you do that, you wake up in another dream or in another nightmare. And this is what is called false awakening. So you wake up in another dream and in another dream. This happens also in the movie, Waking Reality. So you're just very deep into the dream state, and that's why you're waking up in another. So try to use that moment of lucidity to start practicing and exploring, not to wake up. And at the beginning of the practice, Of course, you want to run away from your nightmares. You want to dream pleasant things. You want to fly. You want to explore many things. That's okay. But as you transform it into a dream yoga practice, you want to start exploring the nature of that reality, investigating it with these applications of mindfulness. Start investigating how it exists and how you can modify that reality at will, right? So there are several practices to try to start investigating the empty nature of this more malleable reality. So one of them is making things that are big small, and small things bigger, or transforming things into different shapes. Another one has to do with the elements. For example, solid elements, you want to cross through them, right? But we have so much grasping in this waking reality to things as being very solid that passes to our dreams. So if you see a wall and you say, I'm lucid, I know this is a dream, I'm going to pass through the wall. You do it, and most of the time you're going to hit and have pain because your brain believes is a real wall. I mean, your mind, but your brain is programmed to perceive it in that way, right? So you can start doing some tricks. For example, walking backwards. So you don't know when you're going to touch the wall. You know there's a wall there, but you're going backwards. And because it's a dream, you are going to eventually... It's easier to cross it if you're not looking at it. Although there was a person that got stuck halfway in the wall. So you have to experiment. You can experiment walking on water, on top of a lake, flying, of course, different kinds of working with different elements, right? And then, of course, you can observe your body, change your own form, change shape, withdraw the appearance of having a body and just being awareness, a witness of the dream. Try dissolving that dream and manifesting a completely different one, or transporting instantly to another place, a city or another planet or anything you want, okay? And then when you wake up, try to import that understanding into this waking reality. So we want to get those insights into here. Now, for the relative purposes of well-being and self-esteem, you can do certain things that Stephen recommends. For example, if you are a musician, I think we have a musician here, right? So another musician. So let's say you love playing an instrument, a piano, but you're just terrified of playing in front of a big audience, right? So one thing you could use the platform of the lucid dreams is to go into a big auditorium with lots of people and play in your dream for them. That way, you're training that anxiety or that fear to be released. But again, you're integrating that experience. So when you're in waking state, you might be able to release that fear and play in front of an audience, right? Or you can train in things you don't know. For example, one of my teachers, he went with his family to these mountains where you go do skiing, and he didn't know anything. He didn't know how to ski. So he spent the previous night training in the lucid dream on how to ski. And he fell several times, but he would practice again and again and again. And the next day, he was doing it very well because he trained during the dream. So you can practice anything you want to learn, or you want to study, or you want to improve or overcome some challenges, right? So, but at the same time, investigating these sensations in your body, the feelings arising connected to the experiences, then you transform that dream yoga practice not just into having fun or a relative experience, because you're also creating karma, not as heavy, but you're creating karma in your dreams, right? You can practice generosity, you can practice patience, you can practice all the paramitas in the dream, instead of just kind of fulfilling your repressed desires, right? So that's the purpose of dream yoga and why it's different. I think I told you the main points. So practice during the day, write your dreams, do check states. In the night, program yourself. Also, before falling asleep, set the intention. As soon as I wake up, I won't move my body until I recall my dreams. Because sometimes you just wake up and move and forget about not moving. Now, sometimes you might wake up and have the experience of not being able to move your body, like it's paralyzed. In Mexico, there's a funny way of explaining this that comes kind of, it's like an urban myth, but people say that there's like a dead person that is on top of you. So they say that the dead person was on me, like sitting on me, and I wasn't able to move, right? But it's not that. Many people think that there are spirits or that there's something wrong happening. Why I'm awake but I can't move my body, and it's because sleep paralysis. When you're sleeping, your body paralyzes to prevent you from jumping from the building. So unless you're you know the word sonambulo? What is the word in walking? Sleeping walker? Sleepwalker. So unless you have that, normally your body will prevent you by paralyzing. But when you're having lucid dreams, your mind might wake up before your body. So you have this experience of being awake before your body actually regains mobility. So don't be scared, just be there, recalling your dreams, and then your body will be able to move. Okay? So do this, start incorporating them in your practice now in retreat, and see what works for you.